Ages, and me, your sassy host with the sassiest most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, where we're too glam to give a damn. We have a big show today, so let's get right to it. Hello to our engineer, of course, Kurt. Kurt, do you have a pun for us today?
I always have a pun for you.
Okay, let's get to it. We got big names on the show.
Okay, I'll get right to it then. Do you know I still have some candy canes from last year? From last Christmas?
Okay, last Christmas they gave you their all? What?
No, they're still in mint condition.
Oh my God. No! I apologize to our audience for that. Thank you to our sober listeners for tuning in. If you were sober and had to listen to that, I'm very sorry. But thank you for holding our hair back and driving us home. But if you are drinking, the official vodka of On the Rocks podcast is Equality Vodka. 20% from every bottle sold helps fund nonprofits that work to secure equality for everyone. Visit them at equalityvodka.com. The show, of course, is brought to you by Straw Hut Media and Here TV. You can watch and listen to every one of our now 199 episodes on OnTheRocksRadioShow.com. New episodes drop every Thursday. Hello to our listeners around the nation on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Roku, Pandora's new podcast section. Watch us on YouTube and Here TV. I'm happy to say we have also joined Gay Binge DTV. Go to gaybingedtv.com. All of our episodes are there. Of course, we are on Facebook pages on Trendy Now, GED Magazine, I Love Gay LGBT, and of course, On the Rocks Radio Show Facebook. Subscribe to us, like us, share us on your favorite podcast player, and like us and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. I put tons of fun pictures, or send me an email. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will be there. Info at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. You can also send us your comments and questions and nudes. Upcoming appearances, New Year's Eve, I'm your master of ceremonies, bringing in the New Year's at Hunter's Nightclub in Palm Springs. Hunter's Nightclub just celebrated 20 years. I'll be bringing in the New Year, and I have some fun shenanigans in store. I just want to do my Barbara Walters impersonation. This is Barbara Walters with 2020. No? Okay. Also, Monday, January 13th, I will be hosting the red carpet with AVN nominee Sylvia Sage at Cybersocket Web Awards at Penthouse in West Hollywood. It's a free event open to the public. Come on, come all. Go to cybersocketawards.com for more info. All right, we're going to get this show on the road. I had an intimate sit-down with each one of our guests, so we're going to get to kick things started. Let's look at a trailer for the highly anticipated third season of The Fabulous Mrs. Maisel, and it's now streaming. Let's take a look at this trailer.
Your Honor, she's going on the road with Shy Baldwin. It's a huge thing.
And you're okay with this?
I am.
You both seem okay with everything.
We are. If they could see me now, that little gang of mine, I'm eating fancy chow and drinking fancy wine.
So 1960, an unmarried woman will take the pill so she can have as much sex as she wants.
I'd like those Stumbo bums to see for a fact.
And a married woman will just have a headache and call it a night.
This is the first of a million tours.
You ready?
Off to the races.
Happy flight.
Well, it was your penis she was talking about, not mine.
I said I was drunk.
Tits up.
Tits, I know.
Whoa!
Remember the face.
And we are back. We are so excited, visiting us from New York, ready to jump back home on a plane, literally in an hour. We got her. SAG Award-winning actress Caroline Aaron reprises her role as Shirley Maisel opposite Rachel Brosnahan. That's a few syllables to say. Tony Shalhoub, of course we love Tony Shalhoub, and Alex Borstein in the Golden Globe and Emmy Award-winning comedy The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Season 3, December 6th. binge watch it, right? The versatile and acclaimed actress got her roots in Richmond, Virginia. She's not a New York girl, even though we assume she's a New York girl, because very New York. The daughter of a prominent civil rights activist that we're going to talk about. After studying performing arts at American University in Washington, D.C., she moved to New York and debuted on Broadway in Robert Altman's Comeback to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, Jimmy Dean. The following season, she starred back-to-back Broadway smashes The Iceman Cometh and I Hate Hamlet, cementing her as the Big Apple's most stirring acclaim to fame. On the big screen, she's built her acting career as a lovable and unforgettable character actress that we love and adore with that voice. You could recognize that voice anywhere. She has appeared in over 100 box office hits, including Hello, My Name is Doris, 21 and 22 Jump Street with My Boyfriend Channing Tatum, Beyond the Sea, Just Like Heaven, Nancy Drew, Sleepless in Seattle, Edward Scissorhands with Meryl Streep and Heartburn, a very young Meryl Streep, and a number of Woody Allen films, and many, many, many more. Her television work includes Grey's Anatomy, Modern Family, Sex and the City, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Transparent, as well as all iterations of the CSI franchise. Please welcome Caroline Aaron.
Hello. Wow. And I'm only 29.
Yeah.
I've done so much in such a short time.
I love everything that you've done, and I'm sure you hear that all the time. You are that actress. You see your face, you hear that voice, and you're like, yes.
Most people think they went to high school with me. Did we go to high school together? I go, no. Right? Then you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. But now that Maisel's such a hit, they kind of know.
Yes. Well, and Maisel is such a hit with so many different generations.
It's true. It's amazing. I didn't even think of that. But it does. It's like young people all the way up just love it.
Now, why do you think it's such a hit with audiences?
Well, everybody tries to deconstruct this and figure it out. Whenever I have to answer that, I always go, well, if somebody knew that, people would only make hit TV shows.
Yeah.
But since we're on our third season, we all sit around and try and figure it out. I think part of it is just lightning in a bottle. And you can't take that apart. Nobody can figure that out. But I do think that there are some things you can point to. One, I would say, being, the master of big opinions, is that, television is usually created by committees.
Yes.
And this is the first time I've ever done a television show that is truly being made by auteurs. In film, because I was lucky enough to work with Robert Altman and Woody Allen and Paul Mazursky and all of these auteur filmmakers, this is Amy Sherman Palladino's vision. It's, for better or for worse, we sink or swim on that vision. And I think single vision has a lot to do with why it's so successful. Also, every single department is an A+. Everywhere you look. I mean, including catering, which you don't even get to see. But the food's fabulous. The food is fabulous. The costumes, the production design, the acting, the writing. And also, I think this is sort of a great thing. This is a sidebar. I hope you can edit. I don't know if you can, but my daughter graduated from the Rhode Island School of Design, and the graduation speaker was John Waters, which ties into me, of course.
Yep.
But he said to these kids, I thought this was so brilliant. He said, don't try and outdo us. Don't try and be more far out than we are. We've already gone to the edge. And he said, so your job as newly minted artists is to build Trojan horses. And he said, I wrote a little musical called Hairspray, and he said it's been all over the country, and people didn't know it was about racism, but that's what it was about. And I think Maisel is a Trojan horse. I think that it's this delightful show, but it really is feminist underneath. It really is about the emerging voice of women in our society, but it's the spoonful of sugar that helps that go down. I think that's one of the things that people love about it.
Well, there's a palpable sincerity, which bleeds into the chemistry that you have as a cast. From episode 1, it's this warm environment that you definitely feel that you're a part of. Number one, the cast looks like you're having an amazing time, but the story is so sincere. Even though it's a period piece, it doesn't read as just like, oh, it's a period piece. There's some heft to it.
There is heft to it, right?
Yeah.
While you're laughing. And I think that they're really committed to that. They want it to be, Amy and Dan really want it to be funny. They really want it to be entertaining. So, they're not finger wagging at anybody about anything. So they always find a way when they're talking about something important to make it entertaining, but they never back off from the important. Never, ever, ever. They're just remarkable. Again, I don't know if I can say this on the radio, but last year when I was sitting there and they just kept winning Emmys, it was like embarrassing. Emmy. I went, oh my God, you guys. I said, now the trick is for nobody to become an asshole. Because this is exactly when it happens. When you're doing a show and you start to be anointed, people start to be terrible.
Well, and some shows can lose their spark. I mean,
Yes.
we've all heard of big hits, especially on Netflix. You know, it's the hottest button around town, and then something just changes. There's a shift.
I know, and I think part of it, I mean, you know, God, to have Rachel Brosnahan as number 1 on the call sheet is such a joy because she's blowing up. You know what I mean? And so that's when it all sort of goes wrong, you know, where people can't stand each other or they start to compete for airtime and stuff. Everybody feels like we're serving the same master, which is the audience.
Yep.
We're not, you know, it does not feel like people are self-driven in that way of it's like my turn, my close-up, none of that.
Well, and you kind of had that experience. You worked on a number of Woody Allen films, and I know on his sets, everybody is equal, so to speak. There is no such thing as here's the
Absolutely.
star of the film
Nope.
with the trailers, with the call times, with what have you.
Nope.
It's a very different environment.
Right.
And you know it firsthand, the Woody Allen pieces just have a certain texture to them that you can't place in another film.
It's like socialist filmmaking. Do you know what I mean? Each according to it's unbelievable. Everybody has the same size trailer. You know the billing is always alphabetical. So, you know, there is something, I mean, I guess it's a necessary evil, but there is something about the class system in show business which is not really good for creativity. Do you know what I mean? That I'm a bigger star than you are, so I get more money than you do. So I get a bigger trailer than you do. But when we're doing a scene together, we're on the ground together in the same foxhole. But it changes the dynamic of how you and I relate. And that's not good for making something, but it's just the way it is. You just have to get used to it.
You mentioned John Waters, and you kind of told me right at the beginning, your very first kind of big paid job was playing Divine's twin sister?
Yes. That's when I should have gotten a hint that it was time to get out. I'm not kidding. I auditioned for The Neon Woman, which was the sequel to John's big hit, Women Behind Bars.
Yeah.
And I was just come to New York. I was studying with Uta Hagen, Stella Adler.
Yeah.
I was an extremely devoted and serious actress. And I went in and read for this part, and I got it. And then when we were having rehearsals, I was doing all my homework and thinking about my moment before. And the director said to me, "Listen, bitch, these faggots want to hear you scream from the time you get on stage until the time you leave." I went, "Really? I'm not supposed to build that?" He went, "No." I went, "And if you don't want to do that, you can go back to New York," because we were in Provincetown. So I thought, oh, what a bad director. Okay, opening night, there's a screen that comes down that says, "Extremely Independent Artist Presents Divine in the Neon Woman," and that was the last time I heard anybody on stage. It was like being in a rock band. It was unbelievable. And then afterwards, people would come up to me and go, "You were fabulous. You were like a real woman." I'd go, "I am a real woman." They'd go, "Oh, come on." I go, "I swear to God." You know what I mean? "Please don't make me show you." You know what I mean? Then my roommate from college came up, and we did take some drugs. And we went on a boat ride, and she went, "The whole world is not like this." And I went, "Are you sure?" I completely lost track of things. It was like, because also Waylon Flowers, who people might not remember who that is, and Holly Woodlawn, and Divine, and I and Craig Russell. When was the last time you saw that movie? Outrageous.
Yeah.
We're all in the same dressing room because there were shows back to back in Provincetown, and it was before the epidemic. So it was a very, very different time and pretty exciting. And I had a great teacher then. And I was like, "I want to be a serious actress. Should I be doing this?" And he said, "Yes, you should be working with Divine. You'll be working with one of the great clowns." And he was so serious, so disciplined. We were all old movie stars. I was Anita Ekberg. I had, like on a little Teddy. If you got like tan lines, you were out. He was like the actor manager. You couldn't have tan lines. You had to be at the theater on time. He was not kidding around because this was his brand.
You have fit so many different genres, and this, working with Divine is definitely a genre. And you had mentioned that you did study with Stella Adler and Uta Hagen. You have done every type from Joe Dirt to Woody Allen to
soap opera.
To soap opera, yes.
I did a soap opera a couple years ago, which I think every actor should do, where I was on The Young and the Restless, and I played an alcoholic biker. And I had to ride I literally rode a motorcycle onto a soundstage, which was pretty scary.
Yeah.
I had tattoos all over my neck. It was really fun, I have to say. But those people work really hard, and it's great training because it's so fast. In the old days, when soaps were more popular, now they do 5 hours of television in 3 days. and they just have to learn all of it. I was like, you have to learn all this stuff. And I think the matriarch on the show, who's since passed away, had been doing it for, like 55 years or something. And I went, if she knows her lines, I better know my lines. It was hard. It was really hard, but really fun.
Well, and you did Call Waiting, and you had about 75 pages, one-woman show, 2 characters, 75 pages that they kept having to rewrite during previews.
That's right.
How do you mentally prepare for something like that?
That was really hard and scary. It was not a one-woman show. It was a one-character play where, again, the technology has made it irrelevant. But it was about a woman who was, in bed, not with a chronic but not a crisis illness, and she answers the phone. And during the next hour and a half, 18 people beep in, call waiting. By the end of the play, you know everything about her life. And the playwright's theory was, if you were you should try this sometime. So you just listen to somebody's end of the phone call. Just one person, just only their end of the phone calls for a whole day. You know everything about them by the end of the day. Because we change depending on who we're talking to. Yes. Like if you're trying to get somebody to find out why your insurance didn't pay for that bill, that's a very different tone of voice than if you're talking to a sweetheart. So it was, I'm very good at memorizing lines. I know I'm patting myself on the back, but that I can do. I used to be able to do that at stoplights. Look down, then I would know them. And with that, because there's nobody to bounce, if I look at you and I go, oh, I can almost read from you what's supposed to be next, but I didn't have that in that. And so when we were just starting previews, I would be like, I'd talk, and then I would go, I'd like look to the director and go, who's calling me now? I have no idea. I'd be like, uh-oh, kind of thing. And she went, oh, audiences love that. And I went, oh, no. Until I have this down like it's coming out of my cells, nobody's coming to this. I wasn't used to LA theater, which is a little more casual than New York theater.
Well, we have some LA actors that get their lines fed to them in their earpieces. We won't mention any names.
That must be so distracting. People are talking to you while you're trying to act. I don't know. I couldn't do that.
Talk about not being in the moment.
Yeah, really. Exactly.
Of course, but you're right. With technology, whenever somebody calls me, I send it to voicemail. I text, what do you need?
That's right.
Nobody talks on the phone anymore.
I can't stand that. I wish there would be a national holiday of No Technology Day, where we just all have to talk to each other. It's like a federal holiday.
Yeah.
I would love that. I've tried to make those holidays in my family. No one complied. No one listens to me. The no texting zone. Can dinner be a no texting zone? My children would text me from the other room. You know what I mean? I go, get up if you want something. Come here and ask me. I can't stand it.
You have this Spitfire energy with all of your roles. And like I said, it's a very recognizable energy. And meeting you in real life, sometimes you meet actors and, it's a different energy. You certainly fill the room with your presence. But this kind of strength kind of started, and I was reading about your mom, Nina, civil rights actor, Nina.
Because she's from the South, so it's Nina.
Nina,
I know.
Okay, well, that's a good hint.
Yeah.
March with Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
Was so politically involved, you actually had crosses burned on your lawn.
Well, that was the South. Richmond was capital of the Confederacy, and my mother was widowed at 38. She was left with 3 children to raise by herself, and she was in law school recreationally. But this was in 1965. There were no lawyers. She was the only female in law school at University of Richmond, which was across the street from where I grew up. So she had to get a job right away. She had to go to work. So the only place she could get a job was at an all-black university on the wrong side of town. And she started out as a sociology professor there. My father died in July. She started that job in September. I was so little, I don't remember what her ascent was in terms of her activism. She always said it was by accident. I don't think so. But she was born in Selma, Alabama, and raised in Macon, Georgia. So she really witnessed, chain gangs, like the stuff you hear about or see in movies. Mm-hmm. That was part of her growing up and obviously made a tremendous impression on her. So very quickly, she became vice president of that university, and I can tell you, honestly, it was not comfortable for her children to go to school and have people put bananas in our lockers and all of that stuff that you hear about, and calling my mother a professional Negro. And, there was no intersection of the races. It's so funny because when Obama was elected, people went, okay, racism's over. You know what I mean? It's like we've cleared that up. No, I don't think so. I don't think we've cleared it up yet. All you have to do is go back down south a little bit. And so that's where her work began, and it became more and more important to her. So I'm a Southern Jew. I know, there's 4 of them. And I'm one of the 4. And she started raising money from the Jewish community for black education. And she really felt like it was important to marginalized communities who'd never interfaced.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird that we do that in this country. Is it the oppress? Don't you always find that weird? I just find it so mysterious in a way. And so she wanted to sort of take an end to that. And so the first black man nominated for a vice president on a ticket with Julian Bond was the Reverend Channing Phillips, who used to be the Reverend of Riverside Church in New York. And he was working at Virginia Union. He lived in D.C., and he lived in our house when I was growing up 5 days a week, and then went back to D.C. where his family was, and worked with my mother. And his whole point of view, which was so interesting, I didn't remember this, was there was, you know how there's like 2 factions now supposedly in the Democratic Party? Well, in that time there were 2 factions in terms of the black community, which was, let's say, the Malcolm X, Ebonics, culturally authentic. And then there was Channing's version, or the Martin Luther King version. Channing used to always say, if we're going to work at a university, our job is to make as many of these kids middle class as possible. And so if they're coming in here with Afro combs in their hair and speaking like this, they have already blown their shot. So he and my mother sort of got together and created a school of business at Virginia Union, and she got all the money to put in, the $6 million to create a school of business at Virginia Union from the Jewish community for these young black kids. Isn't that great?
That's
and it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I liked her a lot. I was lucky.
Your career has spanned quite a chunk of time.
And I'm 29, keep saying it.
Yes, 29, and all at 29.
I did all of this before I was 29. Right, that's fair.
Child actor. It's
right,
a fetus.
Exactly. And she's in Uda's class. Uda doesn't mind.
Right now, we are in a celebration of female equality in film, body positivity, and an idea of less focus on ageism. These are themes that were not quite so popular during your early career years. Right. What has been your own experience as a woman in the entertainment industry?
Well, I don't think we've cleared those things up yet.
Yeah.
I think we've named them, which is the beginning of fixing them, but I don't think they're fixed by any means. I wrote a play called Such a Pretty Face, because this is how I know it's not fixed. Because I was raising a little girl, and I'm like driving carpool with these beautiful prepubescent girls all sitting in the back seat going, I hate my legs, I hate my this. I'm like going, no, we have to make a better world for these girls. You know what I mean? Where their self-esteem is spread out over a larger landscape than how they look. So I wrote this play in that spirit that's been optioned a couple times. It's going to Texas for another workshop. I don't know if you'll ever see it. I hope you do. And in terms of ageism, I don't think we've made a lot of progress in terms of that. And I think that goes for men and women. I think, it's like you are put out to pasture no matter what you're trying to do. I hear this in all fields. That I even heard this about my friends who are teaching now, that you can't even become a professor if you're over age 40. That's considered, I'm thinking, why do you want a professor under age 40? You know what I mean? If somebody's going to teach me, I'd like them to have banked up a little time. I'm not interested in, it's like what I say about this presidential election. When people talk about the Democratic field, I go, I'm not interested in a beginner right now.
Yeah.
No beginners. Let's have somebody who's like, spend a little time at the job.
Yeah. I love that you are very opinionated, and sometimes you share opinions that are not quite felt by everybody, such as your comments on the Me Too movement, which we had Marlene Forte. I don't know if you've ever worked with Marlene. She was here and she talked about her own experience with the Me Too movement, and she was just very honest. Certain time periods, there was just certain things. Have we become too political? And is there some sincerity to the Me Too movement? What is your...
I've changed my mind between the time that you decided to invite me over and then me coming. And I'll tell you what. First of all, I just have been so... I've just been so disdainful about it, I must say, because there's a part of me that goes, just walk away. Plus, it's such a shame it was started by actresses. Yeah. I mean, nurses, people who really are single parents and at minimum wage jobs who don't have any choice but to be complicit with a kind of abuse. I have tremendous empathy for actresses, not so much, but now I'm learning my lesson a little. I have a 21-year-old daughter who, wow, just calls me out constantly. Oh my God. I said, really, I'm not devoting my life to pronouns. I can just tell you that right now. If I make a pronoun faux pas, do not let it stand in for my politics. I just can't get used to it. You know, so she and I have these arguments all the time. But I was doing an interview in New York, and this woman was like in her 30s, and she was asking me about Me Too, and I went, I know I'm the subject, but can I interview you? And I went, what does it mean to you? So, and she said, which sort of turned me around a little bit, and I said, because I think it's a fad. I think it gives up the opportunity for teaching somebody something. I mean, why we're using it to condemn rather than to educate is very disappointing to me. And she said, well, it means something to me because I'm sort of at the beginning of my career. She wants to be in broadcast journalism. And she goes, and I know when I walk in a room, it's not going to be an issue. And I thought, well, that is that is a great outcome, because that's what my daughter's going to be doing. She's going to be walking into lots of room, and we know that most of the power structure still is occupied by men. So women who are starting to enter the workforce, no matter what their field are going to be interviewed, evaluated, judged, and work alongside women. And she feels like it's sort of a protection. And I really liked that she doesn't have to think about what's going to happen when I go into that room and what am I going to have to do and am I going to do it in order to get the job. I was like I said, okay, you've given me one good reason that it's really there. I just think it's, as I like to say, a time where nuance went to die. I mean, it's like, whoa, I can't believe it. But when she said that to me, I went, oh, okay, so men in the workplace who are in charge, let's say, they're scared. Mm-hmm. That's not the best place to come from. Fear as a source of change doesn't really appeal to me. I'd much rather it be, oh, I get it. But there's not a lot of, oh, I get it yet. There's just, oh, I don't want to get in trouble.
That's exactly it.
That's what it feels like to me. I'm not doing this because I don't want to get in trouble. Not because I really understand. And I don't think I even really understand. Even when because maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm already, it's the gate's open. There goes.
This is without vodka, by the way.
I know. This is where the horses are coming out. I mean, I'm very conflicted, just even internally, between not wanting to be evaluated or, in any way threatened because of my sexuality, and I also want to be a pretty girl. Do you know what I mean? I want to be the prettiest girl in the room. I want you to think I'm pretty and all of that stuff. I don't use it as a weapon or as a tool of what's next for me, but that idea, so I think it's more complicated than this movement has given credit to it, because now I'm in real trouble, but even the year that it came up and all of these, and I forgot what ribbon actresses were wearing, but it was a ribbon color to say, Time's Up, Me Too, whatever it was, and I went, well, if you feel that way, then put on some fucking clothes. You know what I mean? Gowns that were down to your navel and shorts and legs, and I'm going, it's such a contradiction to me, where you're trying to be alluring, and then you're going, you did a bad thing. You responded to that. And if you don't want people to respond that way, then you don't present that way. Now I'm going to get in real trouble, because people are going to go, you should be able to look any way you want without some asshole coming up to you. And I go, okay.
But there is this on the fence, celebrating your sexuality, celebrating people work hard on their bodies.
Right,
Why not
exactly.
show it off? But it's that also danger. It's like, just because I'm presenting this doesn't mean that it's
that you have an invitation.
For you, yeah.
But it is an invitation. Who are you doing it for otherwise than to be admired in a certain way? And so I think that complication is something that everybody just has to look at. What is going on in terms of, my daughter actually did explain something to me that was very helpful. I said, progress is inevitable. It's the way things move. Things move forward. That's what happens, no matter what. And I said, so I walked through doors that were close to my mother. You're walking through doors that were close to me, and on and on and on. I said, I'm not really sure what you're so angry about. I mean, if you look back in history, if you take the airplane view, you know, women have a long way to go, and they have come a long way. Look at the show I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was 20 minutes ago, the 50s. It's not like it was 3,000 years ago. It was pretty recent, and we have made some progress. So I was saying to her, what are you so militant about? She's so militant. My son said to me, I love my sister, but every time I see her, I feel like I should go, hi, Sid, I'm sorry, I'm a white man. That's exact, and that's like her whole group. That's the way they all feel like, uh-oh, just by breathing, they've done something wrong. And I said, what are you so angry about? And when she explained it to me, I thought it was really profound in a way, is what they're trying to do. I said, if you want to kick the football down the field fast, I'm all for it, but just be careful that you know what you're doing and that you don't overlook certain things and that you don't lose your humanity in the process. I mean, even men and women have so much more in common as humans than not, and I feel like, you know, this dividing line of one side and the other side is very upsetting to me. But she wants they want gender to be irrelevant in terms of the workforce, and I think that's pick the best human for the job,
right?
Whatever it is, and I get what that is. And you know, she went to an art school which just couldn't be more liberal, lefty, all of that. But even there, she would talk about the professors and what they would rely on the boys for, and what they would never enlist the girls for. It's so long-standing that we have to have some respect that to break down something that's been that long-standing takes communication, not condemnation. That's my problem. It's about condemning people rather than communicating with them and saying, this doesn't feel good to me. I don't like this. It's making me uncomfortable. It's making me feel bad. Nobody does that. They just like report them and then ruin their lives.
Well, and
seems to be.
Well, and the fact that you said we're so afraid to even talk about it. If you don't have that same opinion, you're instantly put in this box.
That's
it's like,
right.
oh, then you're against us. Rather than we're now having an open conversation.
That's right.
I'm seeing your point of view. You're seeing other people's point of
Exactly.
view. That's what we can't be afraid of.
And I mean, like even doing this press, when I asked that young woman that, and I went, oh, that's such a happy thing for me to hear, is that you don't have to go into a room. I don't know in broadcast journalism if it's particularly male, but you know, she doesn't have to wear a short skirt and a push-up bra to go in and say, I'm a really good journalist and I would be like to be considered for this job. I mean, she can wear a short skirt if she likes it, but if she doesn't, it's not part of her qualifying for the job anymore. At least no one explicitly will make it part of qualifying for the job. Do you know? So I think that's a really, really positive thing. And I think that, you know, all movements start out in extremis and they find their way back to the center in a way, and I'm hoping that that will happen, but I think this breakdown right now is not so great.
Well, and you've been part of film history. I mean, being
Yes.
part of the Woody Allen Library it's a huge part of cinematic history.
And we're dismantling legacies all over the place. They took all of his films off of the AFI list, and you know, there was a movement to take Picasso's pictures off of the walls of museums because of how apparently terrible he was to women, and I'm confused about that. Do we make our artists, are we interested in their ideas or their lives? I don't know.
Right.
Do we stop reading the books of certain men who were bad? I don't know really the answer to it, but it's so extreme and so fast, and so they're really dismantling Woody's legacy right now, and I think it's tragic.
And it's difficult to focus on the piece itself.
That's right.
With all of this political jargon, or you can't just talk about, hey, I did this movie, my experience as an actress, the story, the way it was directed, the conversations about something else.
You
now.
can't. Even when, right after his big scandal came up, I got calls from all these actresses that went, don't work for him, don't work for him. And I was like, wait a minute. I said, first of all, I don't live under his bed. Second of all, I don't believe in the court of public opinion. That should be litigated outside of my opinions. It was, and therefore that stands for me. But that's, you know, now we are because we're so media driven and because there's access to so much information, we all are clerks at the opinion store.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yes.
We're all big clerks at the opinion store. And so people don't leave the institutions that were set up to legislate these judgments. We are all the judge and jury now.
working with Woody Allen, that's a very certain personality. You also had the opportunity to work with Tim Burton.
Yes,
Of
I
course,
did.
Edward Scissorhands. We're in the winter season. It's one of my favorite Christmas films, by the way.
Christmas is oh wow, that's so
Because
interesting.
I consider it a Christmas piece.
Yes, we did have Christmas in the movie.
Yeah, so I always crank it out for the holidays. What a quirky movie! What a quirky director! What were your takeaways from working with Tim Burton?
Adore. So this is how I ended. So Crimes and Misdemeanors came out. Tim said that he wanted to meet me. He hadn't even finished writing the movie, but he had this idea, which when you think about it, like my friends who, when it means something to people where they're just like, it just fills up their whole heart. It's like, it was the movie of being the other. It is the iconic movie.
Yeah.
Of what does it feel like to be the other? And everybody who ever went to high school probably felt that in some way or another. But I was reading this book, and believe me, I am not a reader like this. I don't know why, but it was by Bruno Bettelheim, and it was called The Uses of Enchantment. And it was a book about how come fairy tales have so much violence in them. Like, why does Bambi's mother die when it's for children? It's true when you have kids and you start reading things, you're like, is this
The Brothers Grimm tales are really gory.
They're
We've got the Disney versions. They are very gory.
They're really gory, and you go, why is this a good idea? But the book sort of explains it is that when you name a fear, like when you bring it out and it's in front of you, you make it smaller. So in a way that was like, what do children sort of fear the most? Losing their parents. That's the scariest thing, because then who's going to take care of me? So the fairy tales that were about that, and then you get to see survival in a way is like sort of a comfort. So I went in and I met Tim, and he absolutely looks like Tim Burton, or he did then. That's not, that's not his
not
party.
A fake look. That's
no,
him.
It's not his party outfit.
Yeah.
That's Tim, right? And I don't know how it even came up. He was so shocked when he saw me. He went, "You're so much younger looking, and you just look so much different than you did in that movie." And I said, "Well,
thank you, I think."
I said, "Is that a problem? Because I'll just go right back to the way you thought I looked. Whatever you want me to look like, I'm so in for that." He said, "No," and then he started talking to me about the movie, and I started talking about this book, and I went, "Oh," because he said it's a fairy tale. He was saying it's a fairy tale, but this boy seems scary because he has scissors for hands, but he's really not scary. But everybody who gets near him thinks they're going to get hurt. I'm like going, "Oh my God, it's just like the book." So I told him that I was reading that book, and the minute I said the title of the book, he went, "Do you want to be in this movie?" I was like, "Yes." And he hadn't even finished writing it. So then we went to Florida. He spent months looking in the country, all over the place, because I didn't know he started out as an animator.
For Disney, in fact, he got fired because his original illustrations were so out there. They're like, no, we're doing this. And he's doing his characters, they had the exhibit, and it had some of his early sketches for Disney, some of the characters that we know and love. He had his first hand at them, and they did not look like the characters we see today.
Oh, and he's so sweet. He's so sweet. But he wanted a community where all the houses looked exactly alike, which they did in that movie, and this is so hilarious. So you know how they give you money? They're going to rent your house for a film shoot. So first of all, the woman's house who they rented for me, for my character, every time we would do a shot, so the AD would say to her, "Okay, don't stand behind the front door," because the actors, because we see Edward down the street. It was the scene where we all throw open the door and we get on the phone with each other. Did you see him? Did you see him? Did you see him? Right? Every single time we did a take, I'd throw open the front door, and this 70-year-old woman would, bam, she'd fall on the floor, and I'd go, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Then the AD would come and go, "Ma'am, don't stand behind the front door," because when the director, action, boom, and then I just knock her down again. It was so hilarious. She was so excited, she just wanted to see what was going on. Then when we left, every single family who had their houses there for 6 weeks, they rented it for 6 weeks, they each got, at that time, like $25,000 or something. Every single family built identical carports. It's like they could have done anything with their money, but all the family did. And they put, I've never seen this before, where you put folding chairs in the carport and a television. So you watch TV in the carport. They all did it. It was so unbelievable. And that's Florida for you, as far as I'm concerned. Guess I'm not going there anytime soon. With open arms.
Do you remember your very first big project audition for TV or film?
Yes. Probably, well, there were sort of three that coincided together. My first Broadway show was Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean. Jimmy Dean, and it was made into a movie. Yeah. So I was in that movie. So that sort of like rolled over from play to movie. And then, this is so great. I was in Uta Hagen's class, and she had a master class where she said that they were going to bring in guest teachers. You know, she picked her 12 favorite people, students, and then they were going to have a different teacher every week. And she didn't want the actors to get together to work on scenes when the big star teachers came, but we knew it was going to be Mike Nichols, Murray Abraham, Austin Pendleton. There was like a whole list. And I happened to work the week that Mike Nichols was there. And then he called me in to audition for Heartburn after he saw me in that class. And then I just started working with him from then on, and that was pretty thrilling. So one of my very first movies was with Meryl Streep, directed by Mike Nichols.
That's
Not
crazy.
bad. Not bad, huh?
That's not too shabby.
Not too bad. I know it's been downhill, but still. I've just kept it up anyway. You know how that is. You just have to keep going.
What is your personal ritual before hitting the stage when you're doing a show run? You know, because you do have that actor's technique that I think a lot of actors don't subscribe to anymore.
I have to tell you, I've been the biggest snob about this until I did a show which I loved called Episodes. Have you ever seen that show?
Yes, with Matt
Oh my God,
LeBlanc.
the funniest writing. So with Matt LeBlanc and Alex Rocco, who passed away.
In fact, we have a picture right there.
Oh, so great. I loved that. Anyway, I was doing a play at Lincoln Center, and I flew back to do some stuff on Episodes, and Alex and Matt, who I thought were so brilliant in the show, went, "What's it like to be in a play?" I went, "What do you mean?" I said, "Matt, you've never been in a play?" He went, "No, and I'm never gonna." I went, "Really?" And he's one of the greatest television actors I ever worked with. He's so relaxed and spontaneous and funny. So I've changed my mind about that sort of like you have to be a stage actor to be a real actor. No, you don't. It's just I love doing all of it, so why not? Kind of thing. My ritual before going on stage is, for me, it's about concentrate. Well, it's for everybody about concentration and relaxation. So it really depends on the content. Like the last play I did on Broadway, which was a Woody Allen play, the whole cast would get together, and we would sing a song together because it was a confection and it was light, you know, that kind of thing. And I did a play right before that at Lincoln Center where I was playing a teacher, and I would just be in the world of education, you know what I mean? Like I was grading paper, just so I could concentrate and not think about you guys sitting out there watching me, and I could sort of dunk myself in the world of the play. So I think each play has a different one, but I always have music, candles, you know, the usual.
Yeah.
The usual suspects work for me.
Music is very powerful.
It's really good. And when I teach, I tell students that I go, you know, whatever you need to do, you know, if you put on headphones and this music will put you in the world, then go for it.
I was doing a show. It was a college show, and I had to have this big emotional kind of peak. So I put together my sad soundtrack because in my mind I was like, make yourself as depressed as you can.
That's right.
But that's not like the best thing to do. So by the time the show started, I had cried for an hour listening to every single sad song. And I get on stage, I had nothing left.
You're just dry as a bone, aren't you, honey? I know.
I was like, well, there went that. And it was ridiculously sad songs because, you know,
I know.
I'm a homosexual. So it was like every Broadway sad song from Les Mis you could ever hear.
Judy.
Judy.
A few Judys.
Judy was a good one. Yep, the man got away.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
man did get away.
Yes, exactly.
Season 3, and I'm so glad that season 2, like, we saw more of you, more story develop. I know you can't give away from season 3, but from the trailer that we just looked at, it's a big, epic production this year.
It is so huge that I cannot believe it. They outdid themselves because you go, they can't possibly outdo themselves from season 2. But I said to Dan, I said, you know, you guys do the heavy lifting. We're invited into your dream, and thank you for the invite. You know, it's kind of the way I feel. But they're doing the heavy lifting, and I said, is it intimidating? I mean, think about that. We're starting with the blank page, and they've been anointed and won all the prizes. I would think it would be like, no. But Dan said, no, we're just going to keep making the show that they have a show in mind. They're just going to keep writing that show. I mean, I had no idea they had this much in mind, but it's so big and so huge. And the thing that's so great is that Amazon leaves them alone.
Okay.
Can you imagine if somebody was in there like going, maybe you should do this, or maybe there should be more dancing girls, you know? They leave them alone, and I think that's part of the magic of the show. I don't know if that's true on all cable shows, But with 8 episodes, it was the same way. This is this creator's vision. We have signed on to the vision. You know, I did a pilot on network TV many years ago that was like a chorus line for stand-up comedy. And it was such a great idea because none of us know how stand-up really happens. Do you know what I mean? So it's like pulling the curtain back on that. It was produced by Conan O'Brien. It was written by and starred all stand-ups except for me. And I played this woman that was a real woman who used to run a comedy club in New York. And in order to get a good time for your lineup, you had to sleep with her. And all these comics knew about it. They'd go, oh, she wants you in her office. I guess she'll get on before midnight. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. It was very funny. And then, like 2 days before we were going to shoot the pilot, all the suits came in.
Yeah.
And by the time we did it, it just stunk. I was like, you don't want these comedians coming in your office and looking at the books, do you? Get out of here and let them do what they do. But they didn't do that.
I think that's the big difference of a network show. And like you said, I think that they let the creative process be what the creative process is.
Right. If it's not going to work, I mean, not everything can work, but at least you have a much better shot if you take the vision of the creator and endorse it to begin with. So we've been well endorsed.
Well, I'm very excited. Like I said, it looks epic. I love how the story is just, it's going.
And also, you'll be happy to know that because it's moving into the 60s, it's going to move into gay rights and the civil rights movement, because that's what happened in our country.
The show's pretty gay already with those outfits.
It's true. Well, just you wait, sir. You will feel very well represented, I
I'm very
believe.
excited. Hey, if they ever need a husky Latino for season 4,
I know who to tell them to call.
Give a girl a call.
You betcha I will. Are you kidding?
Okay, we're going to end the show by doing a little quick rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
You can go back in time and revisit one of your roles that you'd like a do-over. What role is it?
Ooh, Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which I did when I was 22.
Oh, my God.
At a regional theater. Yes, and I loved it so much. It's like the perfect part.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely love it. I think Laurie Metcalf is doing it with...
God damn it, don't bring that up again.
Is her? No. You could star as the lead in any classic film, male or female. What role?
Well, 2 just popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Patton, I'd like to be Patton.
Oh.
I'd be a nice...
That's a great answer, by the way.
I'd like to do that. I'd be a much nicer general, though. I'm just saying. If you're gonna ask people to risk their lives, I would do it in a warmer way. I don't know if we'd win then, but still, that's what I would do.
Hey, at least they'd have a good time.
And of course, I would want to do Margot Channing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on.
Yes.
I mean, All About Eve. Are you kidding?
Well, I'm talking about those outfits. You're wearing those outfits now.
I know.
You are producing a film based on your life. What is the title?
Just Getting Started.
Oh, I love that. All right. Best on-screen kisser.
Tony Danza.
Really? He is so hot, by the way.
Isn't he?
He gets better with age.
I know.
Who's the boss? He's the boss.
I know.
Biggest pet peeve while working on set?
Vanity. Where it trumps content. You know what I mean? It's like unnamed, really will go unnamed. Doing a period film. My hair doesn't look good like that. I'm wearing my hair like this, but doesn't matter. You know, that kind of thing just drives me crazy. Crazy.
All right, Caroline Aaron, where can our viewers and listeners follow you?
Oh, I'm on Instagram.
Yes, I know.
As Joe Dirt's mom.
I love that that's your Instagram title,
because
by the
my
way.
kids, I'm telling you, I've done 100 movies, and when I'm around anybody my kids' age, they go, "Are you Joe Dirt's mom?" I go, "I've done other things." They're not interested. My son was in college, he played basketball, and when he's running down the court, they'd go, "Get it, Joe," and I'd go, "Ben, why do they call you Joe?" And he goes, "Because you're Joe Dirt's mom." I went, "Okay."
And that's literally your Instagram handle.
Joe Dirt's mom. You betcha.
All right, you guys, tune in next week. Our next episode, talking about Edward Scissorhands, we have 8-time Academy Award nominee V. Neal is in.
Wow.
She developed the makeup for Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, Mrs. Doubtfire, Pirates of the Caribbean, Hunger Games.
And Divine.
And yes.
She did our eyebrows.
She's amazing. So we're going to have a fun chat. I'm so thankful that you stopped by on the way to the airport, by the way.
Please give V my love.
Yes, I sure will.
She's the greatest.
All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of On the Rocks. And we are back. We are privileged to have with us a mythical creature, a straight man in theater. Actually, he's a double mythical creature. He's also a Latin Canadian. What the hell is that? Well, we're going to find out. Nick Cordero was nominated for a Tony Award and Drama Desk Award for his performance in the Broadway production of Bullets Over Broadway, for which he also received the Theater World Award and Outer Critics Circle Award. He also originated roles on Broadway in the hit musical Waitress, as well as a musical adaptation of A Bronx Tale, for which he received the Drama Desk Award and Outer Critics Circle Award nominations. That's a lot of tuxedos, like you had to, get together. He also made... He also made his Broadway debut in Rock of Ages and will be reprising his role as Dennis Dupree in Rock of Ages' Hollywood Experience. We're going to talk about what is the Hollywood Experience. Comes with free drugs. Nick's off-Broadway credits include the original production of Nice Girl, Brooklyn Night, and the Toxic Avenger musical. His most recent appearance on stage was at the Kennedy Center concert presentation of Little Shop of Horrors. You know the Kennedy Center, just a little small neighborhood venue. His television appearances include his work on Queer as Folk, thank you, Lilyhammer, Law & Order SVU, and his reoccurring role on Blue Bloods, the show that refuses to die. It's going to be around for 200 years. It's going to be like Blue Bloods, season 622. Tom Selleck is laughing at everybody. He's like, He will next be seen in the feature film Inside Game, and there's a mob movie, too, by the way. Well, we're going to talk about all that right now. Please welcome, for his first time on the Rocks, Nick Cordero.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk about a bunch of different things, and we're gonna get in because I know you got to run off to rehearsal. I joked about being a straight man in theater, and in today's age, a hot word is inclusivity. Mm-hmm. And you're on the kind of the other side of that. Theater is predominantly thought to be a gay man's world, with certain exceptions like Hugh Jackman, straight. But you got involved with acting and theater kind of as a teenager in Canada. Mm-hmm. What kind of guff did you receive from both sides? I mean, how did the idea of masculinity play a role in your acting experience?
Oh, wow.
Just, starting off nice and easy.
Yeah, damn, like Charlie Rose. Honestly, I can't say it really did. I mean, I didn't really get any flack from anybody. And if I did, it was behind my back or I didn't really care. I found acting in theater to be tremendously empowering, actually. I got into it at around 14, 15, and it just kind of was the road that I followed, and it was nice to have that North Star, and I didn't really care a lot about what other people thought about it, and I was getting hired to do it at 15 and getting reviewed, and my name was showing up in the paper, and so I don't know, I didn't really have a lot of people saying not to do it.
Now, when you got into it, were your parents like acting?
No, not necessarily. My father was a little more like, what's your backup plan?
Yeah.
And when I moved to New York, he's like, you're not really moving to New York. And I'm like, actually, Thursday I leave.
That's a big move.
So they were worried, but they're both artistically inclined. My mother's, an artist and an art teacher for, almost 40 years. And my brother, my sister is an artist as well. And my father was a musician and... so, artistically inclined.
In your blood.
Yeah, I was supported, which is lucky.
Moving to New York, what were some of the biggest shocks?
Oh, man. Honestly, I don't mean this to sound bad, but when you are not in New York and you get there, you expect everyone to be unbelievable at what they do. And you get there and you're like, not everyone's amazing.
And there's a lot more of them.
Yeah. Exactly. Population doesn't mean, talent.
In fact, there's that much more crap you have to wade through.
Exactly. So that kind of surprised me.
Okay, well, yeah, that's good to know because people do expect everybody to be high caliber. They're going to audition for a musical and have one of these stories that they waited in line for 4 hours, and then they're the next Broadway star. And that's not how it happens.
It was encouraging as well because you could see a pathway toward you being a Broadway performer.
Yeah.
It was attainable.
Well, I'm talking about a pathway and kind of life and career kind of pats us on the back sometimes. The musical adaptation of A Bronx Tale, a movie that you watched many times as a teenager, featuring Robert De Niro, of course, who produced your musical with a score by Alan Menken, book by Chaz Palminteri. It's like both of your worlds came together.
Yeah. I know.
Musical theater and movies that you kind of inspired you to be an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that's when one of those calls, I got offered that job at the Tonys in 2014 when I was nominated.
At the Tonys?
I was at the Tonys and the lights were about to go down, and just as Hugh Jackman was about to deliver his monologue, I get a tap on the shoulder and Tommy Mottola's there, and he's like, hi, I'm Tommy, this is my wife, we're producing A Bronx Tale, the musical. We want you to play Sonny. We'll be in touch.
Oh my God!
And he turned around and the lights went down. And Best Featured Actor in a Musical was the first category. and I lost to Tony, but I gained a job.
Yeah,
the same night. So
it happened right at the right time.
it was amazing.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe.
I thought it was Hugh Jackman tapping you on the shoulder.
No, he wasn't that close.
And you've had the benefit of not only originating one but two roles on Broadway. I've only been in the regional taste group for Taco Bell. That's my original cast Call to Fame. A Bronx Tale and a wildly successful Waitress. I can't even imagine the ups and downs on working on an original product, from the media hype to the previews to the reviews to opening night to seeing if it's a hit or not. That's a lot of pressure as an actor, as a singer. How did you stay focused during that creative process?
Oh, it's the best part.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love it. It's when you're at that level also, I have found in my experience anyway that people are so, gracious and generous and open to your ideas, and I've been very fortunate to be involved in great creative experiences with people. Waitress was a perfect example where I wasn't in the out of town production.
Mm-hmm.
They did it at ART up in Cambridge, and I was brought in for the Broadway production. And at that time, they made sweeping changes, like totally restaged the thing, got another choreographer, made some adjustments to the creative team, and I was sitting there in the rehearsal room being like, wow, this is a little jewel of a show. But I was impressed with Diane Paulus, not only that she came up with the idea to make a musical of this small little B movie, and to have Sarah Bareilles, who she didn't know at the time, she just was, the master chef in this Waitress kitchen, but also that she took this thing that she worked hard on at ART and she took so many risks on the road to Broadway, where it was all on the line, and it paid off. But I mean, it's not always that way. So I was impressed with her bravery, really.
Well, it's brave on many reasons, because the film, like you said, it's like, Waitress, the musical? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Who has that idea? But it's taken off.
Yeah.
And it has a life to it among many different generations.
Yeah.
But it is scary putting yourself out there. And as an actor, you also don't have, like you did Little Shop.
Yeah.
We've all seen Little Shop, from bad high school productions to reincarnations to James Gyllenhaal to me stalking Ellen Greene and having her sing it at the mall to me. But the framework is kind of done. Like, we know what the storyline is, we know what the ups and downs of the characters, and we've all imagined what we would do with that role.
Yeah.
But when you originate something, it's scary because there's nothing out there. It's like, am I doing a good job? Am I doing a bad job? How is it going to look? That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've been fortunate with the roles that I've gotten, which have been pretty great. But I don't know. I think that if they choose you to be the person to fill those shoes, then they're interested in your take and your instincts, and so not to be afraid to let those come to the fore in the room.
Speaking of shoes, what size shoe do you wear?
12.
12?
Yeah.
Because you're 6'5".
I know. I think my right is growing though. It's weird.
Do you like step-out change? Step-out change. Maybe it's one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like Spacey and Usual Suspects. Usual Suspects.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's. I'm gonna edit this. It's gonna be like Nick Cordero is Kevin Spacey.
This vodka's flowing, yo.
I want to talk about you being a family man. You met your wife during Bullets Over Broadway, and now you are a new dad.
Yeah.
These are completely different roles in an actor's life. How have you changed the most as a person from becoming a family man, and how have you changed as an actor the most?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, entirely. The birth of my son has, exposed me to a kind of joy that it's hard to describe. I mean, just before I came here, he was asleep on my chest and like giggling in his sleep. And there, even in the moments where you're like, you just want your hands free and be able to get on with your day, you just have to remind yourself that those moments are fleeting, and he's already growing really fast. And I think week 2, I was already saying, God, they grow so fast. So having a kid has been totally transformative for us both. And being married as well has just sort of deepened my life. It's given me a grounding in a way that I was ready for and definitely needed, and it's it's a strong foundation to stand on, and I'm extraordinarily fortunate with the people I get to do it with.
Well, and marrying into the industry as well must be difficult, because there's projects that you probably now have to discuss.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you have to
funny
be like, hey, I'm going to be at a tour for 6 months. See ya.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The touring thing. I don't know. I don't know. It would have to be a pretty unique situation for me to be able to justify that. But she also has transitioned out of the business to where she's got her own company now. Man Includes Fitness, which is she's put a ton of time and energy into, and it's going really, really well. So we're not technically in the entertainment industry together, but she's we both support each other's careers tremendously. So.
And she has an understanding of what that all
being
entails.
from the business, she knows all about it. She went to AMDA. She was in like 4 Broadway shows, and she misses it, but she's also gets to control her destiny with this new business. So.
What an amazing legacy for your son to be born into.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I know. Yeah. He was. He was conceived on Bourbon Street and born in New York and raised in Laurel Canyon. We just bought a house. We're closing on a house tomorrow in Laurel Canyon.
In Los Angeles, so you're gonna be an LA boy, like for real,
yeah.
not just for borrowies.
Local hire, yeah. We're coming west. So
in this traffic.
I know. We're in the hills, so we kind of snake through the hills.
It's a great area because you could be like, do I want a party time,
yeah.
Hollywood, or
it's like just close enough to Sunset to be walking distance.
Yeah.
Too, so you get a bit of both worlds, which is cool.
Yeah. I was raised on Broadway shows like Carousel, West Side Story, Secret Garden, Sweeney Todd, all the staples. But in the last decade plus, we've seen a real shift in Broadway. We have jukebox musicals. We have musicals based on movies. That seems to be a growing trend.
Yeah.
They've received a lot of criticism from audiences, critics, but then we also see this influx of a whole new generation coming to see theater that would never have before.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Because you have been in a jukebox musical, Rock of Ages.
Yeah.
One of my favorite musicals, by the way. I saw it 5 times. And also The Waitress, based on a movie. So you literally have been in it.
Yeah. So the question is, like, how have I seen...
Like what's your take on some of the guff that these kind of productions are getting? It's like people are saying Broadway's not the Broadway I knew, where everything was original and
Well, I mean, look, if the show has heart, people are going to go see it. I think that what Rock of Ages achieves is that tough thing, which is it's a jukebox musical and it's poking fun at itself the whole time and it's boisterous and it's over the top. But really, at the end of the day, it finds these moments to have heart, where you're like, you're focusing on the lovers and it focuses on all the right things. You know what I mean?
Friendships, lovers, and time going by and saying goodbye to certain
and
things,
even
too.
while you're joking and having fun, like, to mean it. And these characters have real stakes. And the show doesn't stray from that. So it's got that emotional core that I think is, the reason for its success. And in the case of Waitress, I mean, I don't know. I think, again, and Bullets Over Broadway, same thing. Woody Allen's favorite movies that he's ever done turned into a musical.
It's a great marriage of talk about New York, Woody Allen and then Broadway. I mean,
I think people are just hungry for stories. And as long as you have people who have made movies who are willing to turn them into musicals, it's going to be a tough model to break because it's got name recognition. I was in I don't know if it's too early to talk about this, but I was in a very early reading production of Karate Kid, the musical, that I was, at the minute that came across, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing that because I, grew up in that movie. People thought I was Ralph Macchio when I was a kid. So
I totally see it.
So you just have you have nostalgia about these stories and you can connect to them. And so, frankly, it's a way to get, it's a way to get butts in seats. Broadway's expensive, you know what I mean? You can't talk about Broadway without bringing up the money question. And producers who try to get theaters, I mean, they're for a show to recoup, it's not often that shows recoup or make money, or most of them lose money. So it's you can't really blame producers for looking for stories that have some sort of history with their audience.
Well, that's a really good point. Money is now, it has to. I mean, everything has to make money. And this is why, when we have debate of who should play what role and it should be given to, certain types of people.
Yeah.
If you need an A-lister to lead your film so that it gets Academy Award recognition or it makes money at the box office just to be seen, then that's what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's like that times 10 with... the person doesn't even have to be in the industry, but if they have a certain amount of followers on Instagram, they're getting the job over you.
You come into auditions and you have to write how many Instagram followers you have, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world.
It's crazy but it's that's what they're doing in casting offices. I mean, that's just the reality.
What part in Karate Kid were you reading for?
Oh, I was the dojo master.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which was, it's great. I mean,
of the bad boy.
That's
one.
right. Yeah.
So,
Cobra Kai.
Yeah, Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
We had Martin Kove, who played the Dojo Master, and he's in the Cobra Kai series.
Oh, you did, of course, which is so funny.
And you know what he wants to do?
What?
He wants to do a Western musical.
No
You
way.
guys, he's probably right down the street actually right now. You guys should,
Man, if you're listening, come see Rock of
Yeah.
Ages. I'd love to meet you and hang out.
He would love to come, by the way.
Yeah. Connect us. I would love that. That'd be so good.
I mean, they connect. He's such a
That'd be cool.
funny guy, but you guys could talk about Karate Kid forever.
I would love to. It'd be great.
I love talking about first times, especially with somebody that has been accomplished and has succeeded, and you just,
Oh, thanks. Well, I appreciate that.
it's inspiring. We have a large number of listeners that are in the entertainment field. Rock of Ages was your first national tour, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Broadway debut.
Right. I did know that. But a national tour is so different. It's not just doing 8 shows a week at the same theater. You're having to move from city to city. You're having to worry about your voice. You're having to worry about different audiences. There's also the party life on the national tour.
Yeah.
How was are there stories? Oh, did you get some phone calls at the middle of the night?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Rock of Ages was its own.
Well, it's a party musical anyway.
It's a party musical anyway, and you have to think this was the first national, and you're going to markets where they had never seen a show like this before. And a lot of these theaters are funded by subscribers, so they go to whatever show is coming in.
Fiddler on the Roof and then Rock of Ages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what exactly South Pacific or what have you.
Yeah.
And so we came in, and I don't know what it was about that first national cast, but we were all just like drinking the Kool-Aid, and we just kind of fell in love with each other right away, and became really close. And man, we thought we were Aerosmith, rolling from town to town. It was a lot of fun.
Well, and in a way, you were, because a lot of people relived the 80s.
Yeah.
Or people experienced it for the first time, but it was a party atmosphere. That's what I loved about Rock of Ages.
Yeah.
And you said it so well. The first 15 minutes, you're just like, oh, yeah, this is fun. And then it kind of gets into it. You're like, oh, there's a story here. And by the end, you're like, I love this musical so much.
Exactly. That's why people go back 5, 6, 8 times,
And I remember, because I took my mom to see one of the productions. It was in Orange County, of all places. I haven't seen her that animated. She almost took her top off. She almost threw it at Stacey Jacks. Like, it was out of control.
Oh my God, we'd have people following us on the road, like super fans.
Well,
people have seen it thousands of times.
The cast is pretty sexy too, and they put them in sexy outfits.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yes.
it's a fun time.
Yeah.
What mistakes as an actor, first time on the road, did you make?
Oh my God. Well, many. I think that it's easy to become in your own little bubble on the road, and you have to remember that there's a life beyond that bubble, and be careful.
I've heard that in terms of just focusing on that and not thinking of what the next step is for your career. Also, people thinking with ego, it's like, I've made it, and then you come back and you're like, oh, the tour's done, and
tour life is its own little it's its own little bubble.
But it's special though. I think every theater actor should have to do that.
Absolutely. I have a good friend of mine who's about to leave on the Les Mis tour, or is actually about to start in Buffalo on the Les Mis tour, and he's been in
different than Rock of Ages.
He's been in countless Broadway shows, but this is a great tour for him, and it's a great way to also grow your audience. You're going out to America. He's performing in front of thousands of people who don't get the chance to come to New York, so it's pretty cool.
And that's a good point, is growing your audience, because when I see a show, I always look at the program, and if they have an Instagram handle, I always go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very important.
What positive things happened to you that you could have only learned on the road as an actor?
Well, in my part, I have a few occasions where I can, sort of go off the script a little bit.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a point in the tour where we were performing for these big theaters, like, I think some theaters were like 4,000 seats. And just to be able to sort of like work the audience a little bit, especially, there was some of these audiences would be feverish because they'd never seen a show like this before, so they're just feeling like they're at a concert, and just being able to improv, really, honestly, with an audience of 3,000 people was really cool.
And I have to say, Dennis Dupree, your character, that was a really fun point, because there was that, and then you turned around and looked at people around you, were like, oh, it's so funny. And but it is a certain talent to be able to improv like that and to feed an audience's crowd.
Oh, so fun. So, like, for example, we were in Atlanta, and the Lonnie in the show, who's my counterpart, was like, obsessed with Pepsi. Like, he loved Pepsi. Pepsi clothes. He drank Pepsi all the time. I know. He had this weird fascination with Pepsi.
Did he have like a Joan Crawford fetish?
I
Because,
have no
it's
idea.
hand in hand.
I don't know. His intestines were like Swiss cheese. But Atlanta is the home of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a point where I look at him and I say, Lonnie, you know, what are you doing with the Fogmaster 5000? And I said, Lonnie, I have a question for you. Coke or Pepsi? And like, you heard 3,000 people like, because you said Pepsi. So things like that were really cool. Yeah, we got to sort of reinvent things every night, which was awesome.
And I'm just saying, it kind of keeps it fresh.
Yeah.
And the chemistry that the cast of Rock of Ages has to have has to be real.
It does, yeah. And it just the show just kind of fosters that experience. And this cast here in Hollywood, I'm so excited for people to see, because I have to be honest, like, it's one of the best I've seen. And the way that they're presenting the show immersively, I'm in the rehearsal room watching them put it together, and you know, there's no clothes, there's no set, there's no lights, and I'm like, this is really going to be something special.
So let's talk about the experience, because we've been seeing it talked about in Variety. Everybody's talking about Rock of Ages comes home to Hollywood.
It should be.
The actual place of the musical.
Right.
What is this experience about? What should we expect?
So it's a brand new venue on Hollywood and Ivar, right near the Pantages, down from the Capitol building. And they have completely rebuilt, redesigned this space that is going to be totally immersive. You're going to walk into a place called the Bourbon Room, which is the site of the play, you know. And so they named it the Bourbon Room. And you know, there's going to be a venue at the front, sort of a smaller kind of club venue, then this long bar, and then in the back will be the playing space. Well, you know, people will experience the show. But also there's like immersive staff members. There's, you know, the staff members that have been hired are sort of in on what's going on, and they're sort of, adding to the storyline. And there's, you know, they might give you a phone number. You go to a phone booth and they talk to Drew, who's the lead of the show. There's gonna be like a little tattooing station where you get like these, not permanent, but you know, these temporary tattoos of your choice. You know, all these VIP experiences. It's gonna be so cool, and like the action is gonna be popping up all around you as you're eating and drinking and, you know, having a great night.
I love that for so many different reasons. Number one, it really sets the whole evening, and I can just imagine the electricity it brings to the show.
Yeah.
But it's also celebrating what Hollywood is.
Yeah.
You know, we're so dramatic with so many things nowadays. It's like, yeah, Hollywood, yeah, it's a little dirty and it's a little grungy, but it's fun, and let's celebrate that.
Yeah.
And being a little crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It totally honors that, 100%. And, you know, it's great. The whole creative team, the people who put this show together are from L.A., and it was born in this, I think King is the name of the club it was born in. And then from there it went to Vegas, and then eventually off Broadway and Broadway. But it was, you know, the people who put it together, the minds are from here, the stories from here. So the fact that I'm so fortunate that I get to be in the first sit-down production of it here in Hollywood. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
I think we're ready for it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's also part of revitalizing that part of the neighborhood, you know?
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of new businesses happening out there on Hollywood Boulevard, and I think, you know, Rock of Ages is really excited to be a part of it.
Well, I'm definitely excited. And because of Rock of Ages, you got to meet a bunch of celebrities as well. Steven Tyler, Tom Cruise. Although the picture with Tom Cruise, I'm just like, am I here too?
Oh my God, I know. That was crazy. So Tom was playing Stacey Jacks, obviously, in the movie, which was...
I thought he did such a great job, by the way.
I thought he did
loved
too.
the movie so much. I was just like, I love this movie.
I know. It was cool. I love Tom.
When did you find out first that you were heading to Broadway in Rock of Ages to make your debut while on tour?
I was in a van touring with an 80s cover band that I would sing with at the time, appropriately enough.
God, you really?
And I think that we were pulling up to the steps in Philly, like the Rocky steps. We were going to do some promo shots. And just as we were about to get off the van, I got a call from my agent saying that, you know, I was going to go and be a replacement actor in Rock of Ages on Broadway. And I was super thrilled. And I turned to the guys, I was like, I quit. I'm out of here. I'm going to go sing some other 80s rock music. Way more money.
And they were like, wait, what? What?
Yeah. No, they were fine. They understood. They knew what I was up to.
What was going through your mind 10 minutes before you took your first Broadway stage in front of an audience?
You know, don't mess up. I mean, by the time that I had been, you know, by the time I was there in Rock of Ages, they'd already been on Broadway about 5 years. So, you know, they tried to make a big deal about, hey, it's Nick's Broadway debut, but it was basically like the stage manager being like, this is your 5-minute call. Oh, and it's Nick's Cordero's Broadway debut today. And people were like, ooh, nobody cared. But, you know, it was special for me. And the fact that I got to do it in a show that was so, you know, near and dear to my heart was really cool.
Yeah.
And it's like a family, you know. It's the Rock of Ages family is, you know, once you never leave Rock of Ages, really.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
like the CIA.
Well, and even going to see it, I listen to the recording all the time.
Yeah, it's the best. It's got 80s hits. It's a great time.
Now, talking about singing in a band, you sing a lot off stage. You also had a very successful show at 54 Below. You have to be a legit Broadway legend on your way to being a Broadway legend, or the Countess de Lesseps from Bravo TV.
Who kills it.
I know. We had Todd
packs
Schroeder,
that
her music director, on, and David Burnham, who sings with her.
I'll sing with her. We'd have a great time.
Yeah. I got her number, girl.
Make it
We'll
happen.
do that. Because
You're
you're
making
so
all these
tall.
connections for me tonight.
I mean, I love David Burnham, but he's like a pretty boy, and she likes that. But she likes.
Yeah, she needs a man.
Yeah. Well, David Burnham is a man. Just.
But a man.
We don't have any TMZ special announcements tonight. But it's a little different playing in the band, also having your one-man show, because you're not playing a character, you're playing you.
Yeah.
That's very naked in a very different way.
100%. It was terrifying. I'll be totally honest with you. Like, it was the first one of those things I'd ever done, and I've done some scary things in my career, but that was like something that would keep me up at night, because it was, the whole reason I did it was to tell people that I'm not an Italian guy.
Everybody
from
assumes
the
that.
Bronx. Yeah, everybody assumes that.
Yeah.
In fact, my agents are like, we're having a hard time getting people to believe that you're not that guy. Yeah. So yeah, and I got to focus on my pretty unique upbringing and the story of my parents, and which I love. But yeah, it was there's definitely something to be said for hiding behind costume and set and yeah, it's weird. It was a totally different experience. One I'm looking forward to keep doing, but I hope I get better at it as time goes on.
So I'm assured that there's a solo show in LA that's going to be happening soon.
I hope so, yeah. Yes, there is. I'll let you know.
Okay. You wouldn't be a Broadway star unless you have appeared on Law & Order, SVU. And you've done it twice, by the way.
I know.
It's like on the agent list. Broadway show? Check.
Yeah.
SVU? Check.
Yeah.
I
fired an agent once because they couldn't get me an audition for Law & Order. I was like, I'm the only actor in the city who's not been seen for the show.
I mean, when Raul Esperanza can get featured as a regular.
I know.
I'm obsessed with Law & Order. I watch it hours a day. And
Andy Carl. My first scene was with Andy Carl, who was at that time was a series regular as well.
Yeah. That's part of TV and theater history. We've seen everybody.
I know.
Even
They're
Patty
great.
LaPound.
They're great over there. They run a tight ship at Law & Order.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Yeah. But you have made that transition from stage to TV film very well. Mobtown with David Arquette and Jennifer Esposito.
Yeah.
I just saw the trailer yesterday. It looks beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And Jennifer Esposito is one of my favorite actresses.
She's so great, isn't she? Her face just lights up on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was this great story, directed by my good friend Danny Abukazar, and he starred in it and directed it, and it's a true story about this small town cop who infiltrates this big mob meeting that led to the mob being taken seriously by the FBI as a credible threat, and it's historical. It's very cool.
Well, I can't wait to see it. But that transition, like I said, you did really well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you think so.
Yes, well, but transitioning was that difficult for you as a stage actor? We have a lot of Broadway people come in, and they're like, the first time, the sound people are like, "Why are you shouting?" But even like your approach to it, it's like it's different. Did you feel any nerves doing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Sure. I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I think that every theater actor in New York will tell you that they're doing more television. I mean, they're always trying to get into it.
Yeah.
I'm no exception. I think it's just it's a different discipline. I think it's I'm always attracted to things I know less about and ways to improve. And the fact that once you shoot it, you're done, and the money ain't bad, in some cases. So it's a cool way. I mean, I think it's a part of this career. You know what I mean? I mean, I do know theater actors who are not interested in it, and I totally get that because it is a different experience. It's a much more sort of intimate, not as you're not relying on the energy of an audience, or you can different takes. It's a totally different practice, but it's definitely one I'm interested in for sure.
Well, I hope to see more of you on both.
Thank you.
But I want to talk a bit about Rock of Ages again. Coming back to the role of Dennis Dupree, now life has totally changed for you. How is the character different for you now?
When they hired me, I was like, back then I was playing Dennis Dupree.
Yeah.
Now, I am Dennis Dupree. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that was last time I did it was, on the road. God, it was like 10 years ago. And on Broadway,
You're a totally different person
a
now.
little less. Yeah, totally different. But I feel, I feel closer to the guy. I'm also looking forward to, we're just getting started now. Yeah. So, I'm sure that my relationship with Dennis this time around will evolve over time. But, I'm closer to his age. And I've been through, some things since then, good and bad. So, he's got this like sage-like quality to all the characters in the show, and I feel like I feel like that guy, honestly, in the room, and I love it. I love it. I've always identified with that character, never more than now.
He's like that Papa Bear, crazy uncle that takes care of things in the end, but he's a little crazy on his own.
Exactly.
Performing on the Tony Awards, it's one thing, to be on stage night after night. It's one thing to film something, but live in front of millions of people, and your peers, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity for a career, but it's also a huge opportunity to really mess it up.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. I think on the Tonys, like the lyrics that I sang, I came out and I said we had rehearsed different lyrics because of my wife. Actually, she wasn't my wife at the time, but my wife came out on stage and handed me a gun, and I was supposed to sing something referring to the gun, or like I forget exactly what it was, but like justifying her presence there. And it was different than what I did in the show every night, and I'd just done a matinee, and so I came out there and I did not what we rehearsed, but what I had done in the matinee that afternoon.
She's with a gun.
And
it's like,
she
really wants to get married.
We were in Radio City, this this live broadcast, and the first thing, and this scares me to this day, the first thing that went through my head was, oh, this is television. We'll just stop and I'll start again. Yeah. Could you imagine that happening? No. I have nightmares about that, like being on Broadway.
It even makes me anxious.
Being on the Tonys, singing the wrong lyrics, and being stopped. Hugh, can you introduce me again? Oh God.
I mean, that's.
No, but I mean, it was coherent, and it was actually what people were seeing in the show. So I mean, not many people noticed until now, where I put it on the internet.
How was the gun explained? Just like, oh.
No, if you see the video, you can't tell, but inside I was freaking out.
Yeah. God. And it's a good metaphor for life too. It's like, don't pay attention to what you just did, but look what you did before. Because if you were just thinking about that, then you would mess up again and again and again.
I think theater performers are just trained to just get on with it, because there's you can't go back, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, they're trained to get on with it, like relationships. The last 5 exes.
Damn you, showbiz!
Oh! All right, Nick Cordero, we end every interview with rapid fire. It's very easy. It's not like deep and dark.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. You could go back to classic Broadway and originate any role, male or female. Which role is it?
Straight play?
Musical.
Musical? Oh, man. Sweeney Todd.
Oh, God, yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Although you're still a little young for Sweeney Todd.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Broadway audition song that should be put in a box and forgotten.
My entire book. I don't know. Probably, I'm trying to think of what my casting friends would say. What's that one from Agony? Into the Woods?
Yeah. And now, because
it creates
Cats,
what it sings about.
And I'm so glad you weren't cast in Cats the Musical film, by the way, because I cannot talk about that. Although we're going to hear Memory again till the day we die all over again.
I know. I can't believe I wasn't cast in that movie. So close.
I couldn't have faked that interview, I'll tell you that.
T. Swift got my part.
She has now more American Music Awards than Michael Jackson, by the way.
I know. I met her doing Bullets Over Broadway. She was lovely.
She's very sweet, and she's a big ally to many communities, so she is sweet.
Yeah.
But it's like, girl, she just seems like she has it all together. I'm a little jealous. Finish the sentence. I can't possibly go on stage. I haven't blank yet. Like a personal ritual, not like I haven't put on my shoes, but like something personal that you do that then you know that you're ready to go on stage.
Ricola. Backstage, there's solo cups. Or there's every Broadway backstage, there's cups of Ricola on either side of the stage, and I have to have at least 2 before I go on stage and perform. And then I continue to eat them throughout. It's not healthy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've almost cracked a tooth.
Can you imagine that?
It's
a weird, about a gun that's not supposed to be there.
But after every exit, I'm like, unwrap a Ricola. I always have Ricola.
Yeah, okay.
It's weird.
All right. You are writing a musical based on your life. What is the name of your musical?
Working on it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll get back to you with a better title.
That's the sequel to Steven Schwartz's Working on It. I wonder if he'll sue.
Working on it.
Rock of Ages, bringing it all back. What rock band would you most want to fill in for? And it could be a rock band that's not performing as the lead singer.
Ooh, it's like a tight. It's a toss up between the Stones and Aerosmith, probably. I love both those bands very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it. I can see that. You would own it. Nick, tell our viewers and listeners where they can find you.
You can find me at Nick Cordero 1 on Instagram. Are you talking about social media?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick Cordero 1 social
No, like, what's your new address of your new home?
Well, no, come see Rock of Ages on Hollywood and Ivar.
Yes,
Buy tickets.
rockofageshollywood.com.
rockofageshollywood.com for tickets. Follow Rock of Ages Hollywood social media as well. But I am Nick Cordero 1 on Instagram, and that's it. I am Nick Cordero on Twitter. Find me there.
Have you ever messaged Nick Cordero, just plain Nick, like, because you're one?
What do you mean?
On Instagram. Like, who has Nick Cordero? Or did you add the one just on your own?
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't messaged the original Nick Cordero.
Yeah.
Because Nick Cordero got there first. That's a good idea, actually. I'll find out.
But sometimes they get that name just to have to sell it.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Ellen DeGeneres had to buy EllenDeGeneres.com or Ellen.com for like $1 million.
I am looking for NickCordero.com like desperately. Somebody has. No, but if you have, if anyone listening, you have Nick Cordero.
I'll find out. I'm connected.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
I know, yeah.
We'll get Martin Coe from Cobra Kai on it.
I need all help I can get.
How exciting to have you in studio.
Thank you.
We're very happy. Sorry, Big Apple, for your loss that you're here. And you're here to stay. rockofageshollywood.com. Cannot wait to see the show. And I think it's a great show that you can bring your parents to. Yeah. You can do a bachelorette party to. You can do a birthday party at. Or you can just go on your own because you're probably going to find a lot of friends.
Reunion, absolutely. Bring them all.
Family reunion. Well, don't like my family anyway. But so, coming up on The Rocks, we have such an amazing slate of people. We're also nearing our 200th episode of On The Rocks. Find everything at ontherocksradioshow.com. Kurt, thank you so much. Until next time.
This has been another episode of On The Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air. Find everything On The Rocks for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.